So, if you've not been living under a rock, then you've heard of the godfather of alien conspiracies, the walking myth himself, Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Robert Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
That Lazar dude freaked me the out, man.
He's a freak out.
Bob is basically a walking paradox, a human head spinner. He almost feels like an optical illusion of a person.
Back then, Area 51 meant nothing.
The reason you know about Area 51 is all down to Bob Lazar, and as times went on, he's only been proven to be more right. To naming elements, technology, even down to the way that the spacecraft flies.
889, somewhere in there, yeah.
So, late 80s, you've essentially told the exact same story all these years. And then, within the last, 9-10 years, we've started to get all these reports. There was the New York Times story, there was the Go Fast video and the FLIR video, and all these videos that show a craft that's moving the way you described this sport model moving.
Right.
Which kind of freaked a lot of people out with the way it rotated and turned.
It does the belly roll, faces at the bottom towards where it's want to go, and then it takes off, and yeah.
It's exactly how you described.
He literally describes it down to the T. Like, how many points on the board does this guy have to get until we just say that he's telling the truth? Here's him on his first appearance on the Joe Rogan show, where he explains about how the UFOs maneuver.
Going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's a very ominous feeling because first of all, everything is one color. It's like a dark pewter color, and there are no right angles anywhere. It's as if somebody took, I've said this before, somebody took a model and fashioned it out of wax and then heated it just for a short time so everything melted. Everything looks like it's fused together. Everything has a radius of curvature where two items meet. It's a really weird looking thing. But there was almost nothing other than a small foldable hatchway that looked recognizable. Everything was really unworldly, to pick on it, a way to describe it.
So you get inside this thing, and it's designed for something that's much smaller than a human being.
Yeah, you can't really stand up till you get to the very center of it.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
And what do you think this was designed for?
I'd say something close to half my height.
Wow. So these little 3-foot tallish creatures. Yeah,
and the seats were small too. I mean, obviously it was made, for something small. But there is there's nothing else in there. There's just seats, the reactor, and some of the subcomponents. There's no control panels. There's no bathroom. There's no decorative components or artwork or anything that you would recognize or trim. I mean, it's just a very bare bones thing.
You're not seeing any screens?
Well, there are archways around it that are part of the superstructure, and one of the archways can become transparent. When I was in there was another group working on one of the archways, and you could call that a screen, more or less.
So through that archway, it would maintain the solidity, the solid, whatever metal it was.
Yeah,
but you could see through it.
Yeah, it just became transparent. Yeah, I saw that happen once or twice before I left.
Did you ask any questions about what the fuck?
No, there's no asking questions.
There's no asking questions.
No.
But when you watch something become transparent, and you realize it's still there, but you can now see through it.
Yeah, I mean, now that's not that impressive. We do have some liquid crystal materials that are like that. They have
seen that in
smart glass. Yeah, they call it smart glass. So this is just, and I don't know if the craft is made of, an advanced metal or a ceramic. It was cold to the touch, so I would lean more towards a metal.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
No, they work on the buddy system, so I can only exchange ideas and talk to Barry. Now, this really interferes with science because science is based on free discussion, and ideally, you get a bunch of guys together, exchange ideas, work on problems, and that's how things move forward. But they're so over the top concerned about security, they split everything off and everybody becomes stagnant. It just destroys any of the progress you can make, or at least makes it go so slow. I think they wind up shooting themselves in the foot.
Which is probably why they arrived at this bottleneck that they needed to get this madman with a jet-powered Honda come in and see what he could do.
I think that was an act of desperation. I think they wanted someone that thinks out of the box and let's just give this guy a try here, because they weren't, and they might have done this 4 more times since up to the point in time today, assuming they're still working on this thing.
And when you see this craft and you're inside, was there any indication that there was an area that they would use to control it, to pilot it? Was there a pilot seat? There were 3 seats. They sat around, the reactor was in the dead center of it, and then equidistant around there were 3 seats. And that's all. There was a large, they're not consoles, they're large rectangular objects, also spaced, equidistant around the center. There's nothing on them. There's no buttons. There's no lights. There's no controls. Look the same color, the same
Everything
thing.
is the same
it's
color.
It's just a different shape.
Right. And directly underneath them, there's 3 levels in the craft. The main level is what we're talking about. Directly under that, those are the gravity amplifiers, the big rectangular objects. Underneath them are the gravity emitters that look like, for lack of a better word, a trash can hanging on a pipe. 3 of those. And then the top layer, this is just my personal belief, I think that has to do with a navigation or their version of a computer with some planar panels, sensor panels around the craft that we would call portholes, but they're not portholes. They're just black areas. And I think that just determines its position in space. But I physically was in the center section, and I stuck my torso in the bottom section and hung upside down so I could see how the gravity amplifiers were positioned.
What is the roughly the size of this thing?
I don't remember from being there, but after all this stuff was over, I had John Andrews, a guy from the Testers Model Corporation, and we sat down and tried to figure out from what I saw and known sizes of things, and we came up with 52 feet in diameter. And
so
I think that's
fairly small.
Yeah, so I think that's a reasonable guess.
Now, you said there's 9 of them, and you got a brief glimpse at the other ones. Mm-hmm. How were they different?
Oh, they looked completely different. One looked like I called a Jell-O mold, and it looked like a classic Jell-O mold with the rippled sides to it. One was a very flat disc, like like a straw hat or something like that. That was sitting up on its edge, and the thin part of it looked like a projectile had been fired through the edge of it. So I don't know if they were attempting to see if the metal could be penetrated, or if that's where the thing came from. Maybe it was shot down. But that was the only one where I saw there was, actual physical damage to it.
And that one was roughly the same size? They
were kind of too far away to tell.
I've also heard him say on other podcasts that some of the crafts came from archaeological digs, like from years and years ago. Like, it's absolutely crazy stuff. But he's kept to the same story on every single podcast he's ever been on. He's never slipped up once. Nobody's ever come out to disprove him. I've even seen body language experts reacting to his videos. Now listen to what they say.
He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't have to think much about what he's talking about. He just says it clearly. That is always a good sign when it comes to somebody who's telling the truth. Now, that doesn't mean somebody can't tell the truth that's also saying ums and ahs and looking around and trying to think, but he's not showing any signs of anxiety or nervousness. That's one of the things that I'm going to be looking very, very closely for. Because when people lie, particularly have big lies, particularly when they have big lies on camera, they really do struggle not to let that leak out. Let's watch this part again. Let's see if there's anything else.
Witness any disk technology at Area 51?
No, there was absolutely no ET craft, ET technology, anything.
All right, so you see him saying there was no ET technology, no craft, so on and so forth. As he shakes his head when he's talking, this is actually very consequential. Because when we're feeling something deeply, our body's connected to what we're feeling. So when we say no, and we shake our head while we're saying no, That's far more likely than someone who says no and then shakes it afterward. Now, I watch a lot of trials, and it is very clear when somebody says no and then does it afterward, it's a performance because you realize, okay, I need to show people that I don't believe this. So they shake their head no after they say it. He's doing it in sequence. It's synchronous with what he's thinking and feeling, which lends more credence to the idea that what he says is something he believes.
Anything like that at Area 51. This is why S4 was made specifically to separate it there. People at Area 51 do not have the clearance.
How long were you employed at S4, and when were you hired?
When was I hired at S4? I guess...
All right, now, when he was first asked that question, watch his mouth right here.
How long were you employed at S4, and when were you hired?
All right, you saw that lip licking. Now, there's lots of nerves in the lips. So when we're going to say something that makes us anxious, we tend to lick our lips. So that's why I'm saying when we're looking for lies, we look for things like that. That doesn't mean what he's getting ready to say is a lie. It could just mean that he feels something strongly about it. But typically that is because you are feeling strongly. Could be because the question makes him anxious. But we're going to look to see if there are patterns. We're not going to make any major conclusions based off one behavior.
When was I hired at S4? I guess early 89. And I was probably there only about 6 months or so, on a very infrequent basis.
How were you transported to and from work?
At the time that I was working there at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas, there was a Special Projects EG&G building. When I was told to go to work, I drove there, parked my car there, and got it.
So one thing that he's doing right now, he's providing a lot of detail. Now, it's not that liars can't provide lots of details. If you watch someone like John Wayne Gacy, he provides tons of details about things, but he's also one of the world's worst psychopaths, so it's easy for him to lie. Oftentimes when people lie about things like this, they don't provide this level of detail because they don't want anybody to be able to verify whether what they're saying is true.
Around the opposite end of the hangars, there's the standard entrance where you're dropped off at. Go through a security check, and inside there's a small complex. There is some office space. There's several laboratories, the hangars.
Something else you're probably noticing is that his body is quite open. So when we're feeling vulnerable, we allow ourselves to leave our chest open, to leave our body open. When we're feeling defensive, we tend to close all of that off. Right now, we're not seeing any shifts. We're not seeing him start to close off. Because oftentimes when someone's lying, particularly when bigger lies are going to happen, then we see them shift. Then we see them close themselves off. Or we see them leaning away from the interviewer. Things like that. We're not really seeing any changes right now.
For me, Bob Lazar's account is the most credible story in the alien community. I've followed it from the very beginning, and as time goes on, it's just more likely that it did happen.
Lazar's telling the truth.
Bob Lazar claims our government captured alien spaceships, UFOs, and keeps them in a secret warehouse.
They are actively and have in their possession alien spacecraft, and they are actively undergoing analysis.
Then distance doesn't matter anymore. If they have a different propulsion system, a million years ahead of us in physics, let's say, then if they're out there, which everybody agrees with, right? It's a universe is teeming with suns. Just look up at the stars. Every star is a sun with orbiting planets, probably in the Goldilocks zone. So if there's life out there, because we ain't that special, are they coming here? That's where the conversation has now turned. And I think that's what you're feeling, is that we're realizing we don't know everything. And it's possible there are things in physics and science and nature that we are discovering.
We've now heard a former director of national intelligence who oversaw all American intelligence agencies openly discuss a UFO tracking program housed at Area 51 specifically. We've also seen past directors of the CIA, congressmen and women, and whistleblowers across agencies endorsing the existence of a decades-long, multi-generational UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. But Bob is an anomaly. He's on an island. He's still the only person to have gone public claiming he worked directly on a craft of non-human origin. We've speculated about his story for years. Today we get to talk to him directly.
They really wanted to see if they could affect the flow of time.
Did they have a stated purpose for...
No.
The thing is with Bob as well, is he was never into conspiracies. He wasn't the type of person that was looking for fortune or fame off his story. Except from the first few times with George Knapp for his safety, it took like 10 years before Bob would come out again and talk about his story, which I believe just adds even more credibility.
Goodness.
Sorry, I threw you off of the...
No, it's super fun. Disclosure, disillusionment. I want your thoughts on that.
Disillusionment. Oh, with Bob Lazar and the whole thing. Yeah. Basically, I made a very conscious choice. I was obviously fascinated. I always wanted to be abducted.
You wanted to be?
Oh, I wanted to be abducted. So
no,
much.
You don't.
Yes. I could not wait. I said, if they take me one way, I can't wait to go. Like, I wanted to see another world. Like, how weird it is would be worth anything. It's just like, I just wanted to see that, right?
Well, obviously, you know Andrew Gallimore very well. He was here just a few days ago.
Yeah.
He makes a good argument that abductions are just possibly an endogenous DMT experience.
Possible. I don't.
So you might have been.
I personally don't find similarities between the reports of DMT and the what they are.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think they don't sound or look at all the same. But again, who knows, right? Like ultimately, who knows? And even if they were, as a kid, I knew nothing about that. All I knew is that I want to go to another planet, and that sounded like a legitimate way to do that if that's real, right?
I thought I'd just throw this in at the end because it's just so true these days. There's so many people that are just pushing an agenda they don't believe for financial profit. They're getting paid off of foreign governments and they're just pushing pure propaganda. We need to stop paying mind to these bad actors and giving them attention and instead focus on people with integrity. I'm only interested in finding the truth and not spread information I know to be false or muddy the water. I hope you enjoyed the video. If this is stuff that you're interested in and you enjoyed watching it, please think about giving me a like and subscribing. And as always, see you on the next episode.